On this week's episode, Shang-Chi is a huge hit for Marvel. Is Halo Infinite still on the right track? And what did I miss on my vacation? All this and more as you once again delve into the pop culture cosmos. And we're back with another episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. This is Gerald Glasser from Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our shows. And if you can, please give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Plus, if you can like, share, subscribe, follow, or do anything that you can to support us right here at Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, Humanican Media, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and the Lakers Fast Break, it is sincerely appreciated. But it wouldn't be a Pop Culture Cosmos without my good friend. He's our own martial arts expert of Pop Culture Cosmos. You got to check out what he's doing today at popculturecosmos.com. All the great stuff that he's doing with his shows, Topicocalypse and the Super BS Gamescast. It is my good friend. It is Josh Peterson. What's up, man?
What is up? Just back in the saddle. You know, you're gone in Hawaii for the past couple of
2 weeks.
years, and we're back here in the pop culture cosmos, and it's a Sunday, getting ready for that week to come. You know, 3-day weekend, man. It's exciting. A lot of people hope you enjoy your 3-day weekend. Be safe, but we're here to chat. So let's do a little talking here.
As you can see, I got the man growth going on, which will be removed very shortly. I will tell you because it is not a big hit in the Glassford household. So it
Really?
will, yes, yes. Unlike you, who can carry it much better than I can. With me, I look like a homeless person or a person who looks like, he should be on the set of Robinson Crusoe. So I would probably say it is best for me to have it removed in the not too distant future. So,
just
but
take it for a walk, man. Just for a
yeah.
couple of weeks, you know.
Well, I will tell you right now, as a family man yourself, if you ever get to the opportunity, and this goes for everyone out there, if you get a chance, please go check out the islands of Hawaii. We did island hopping for the second time. Really, it was just a tremendous adventure. We did first off Maui, and then we went to Kona, and then we went to Kauai, and then we topped it all off in Honolulu with obviously on the island of Oahu. And I will tell you, everyone there just so terrific to deal with. Just very appreciative of my time there. The landscapes that you could see, the sunsets, the weather, the whole 9 yards, every bit the paradise that it always is when every time I go there. But to tell you something new that we did visit Kauai for the first time. And if you, I'm going to tell this to everybody out there, not just you, Josh, but everybody out there. If you get a chance, there's a tremendous boat trip that you can take on the west side of Kauai, the islands. You take a boat trip, a power boat trip, and to see the breathtaking atmosphere there. You see the sights that you've seen on the intros in Fantasy Island, of Jurassic Park. You've seen all the stuff in these tremendous landscapes that are there. It's simply breathtaking. The waterfalls. You go through the caves that are in there. You go as you're driving along, as you're riding along on the boat. You get to ride alongside the dolphins, and you get to snorkel with the turtles. It's just a truly fantastic experience, and I highly recommend it. But again, the whole 2 weeks in Hawaii was outstanding. And I also want to give a big thank you and a shout out not only to you, Josh, for our show, the 5-year anniversary show, but Big Dog, Woof Woof. I want to make sure he gets a big shout out as well. Although I got a little jibe at him coming up here when we talk about Spider Man coming up, which I already told you about a couple of weeks ago. But I also want to thank the entire group of DMs for our DM roundtable. That was also a big hit as well. So thank you so much to all the DMs that are part of our regular Pop Culture Cosmos tabletop RPG games all week long. That was a great roundtable. Also, want to make sure everybody gives a big thank you to Smoking Hot Confession Zone Ben Arnault, who is also part of a great Marvel discussion, and also what you can do with Salmon. So if you want to check out the backlog of those shows during the course of the past 2 weeks while I was on vacation, we dropped them on the Pop Culture Cosmos channel. So I hope you get a chance to check it out if you've not done so already. But and also a big thank you to the awesome radio stations who were very patient with me while I was going ahead and sending some of this out, because the one thing that Hawaii does not have, Josh, well, in certain spots, is Wi-Fi. So
Wait,
yes, I
you don't say. There's no Wi-Fi in Hawaii.
no, no, no. It depends on
Hawaii.
Honolulu was good, Maui was good, Kauai. Once I went to Kauai, you basically fall off the map because it is spotty at best at some of the locations there. So, unfortunately, I wasn't able to get it out as fast get the episodes out as fast as I wanted to. But again, I appreciate everyone's patience with that's associated with the radio stations. You guys and gals are awesome to deal with, and I look forward to going ahead and bringing you more stuff right here from the Pop Culture Cosmos. But yeah, I know you did some stuff too during the 2 weeks that you didn't have me in your life, which I'm sure was a great vacation for you as well.
I just worked and got ready for work, and we entertained some people this past weekend, and that was fun. And yeah, I have just been. I last night I went to go see the Used and Coheed and Cambria in concert, and I gotta say, man, I love what Coheed and Cambria is doing with their music, because they're not just a band, they're a brand, right? Because they have the Amory Wars, and like in their merch booth, they're selling like the action figures and autographed comic books. It was a pretty neat and pretty cool experience.
Absolutely. Plus, I also want everybody to check out Josh's Instagram because he's been dropping some pop culture stuff from time to time there. So please check it out. I've been taking quite a bit of look sees at what he's been delivering there constantly. So check out Joshua's alter ego, isn't it? Or
Joshua,
how?
yeah, Joshua's alter ego.
Yeah, there you go on Instagram. So check it out. And so check it out indeed. But we got a great show lined up for you today. We're going to be talking about. I know Josh doesn't like to go on the Marvel overload button, but to catch up on what I missed or what I missed telling you people about, you great listeners about during the course of my vacation, we got a lot to talk about, including the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer. What if through episode 4, there's also some movie delays again, and a surprising one that didn't get delayed. We'll talk about that coming up in the show for all those subjects. Halo Infinite, which I know Josh wants to talk about, they finally dropped a release date. And I also want to thank Sean Shamrock. He was awesome on our video game preview that we did on Friday. He and I were talking about that. We dropped that just before they made the announcement on the release date. So I want to talk about that, plus some of the problems this game is having, has, and could possibly continue to have going forward. Continue to have going forward.
Sorry.
That's coming up on the show. And also, as well, we've got a lot of great things, including talking about some of the latest news and trends in pop culture, but also talking about an anniversary of the movie Contagion, which, as we go through today, been through the past year and a half plus of the pandemic. Want to see if it still holds up. There's some things I like and some things that unfortunately have not mirrored the real life as well. But we'll talk about that coming up at the back end of the show as well. But first, my friend, it is Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. And the good news for Marvel in this climate that, again, still a lot of people are very apprehensive about going to go see this movie out in the theaters because of the Delta variant and that's going on with the coronavirus. I braved out in the theaters. I was one of the first in Hawaii, in Honolulu, to go check it out. And I will say that this movie is good. It's actually a little bit better for me as an experience than Black Widow this year. It will be in my top half of the Pop Culture Cosmos Marvel Cinematic Universe timeline as far as my picks, as far as that's concerned. I will probably put it in the upper half, and that will be posted sometime this week on popculturecosmos.wordpress.com or popculturecosmos.com. I thought it was pretty good. I enjoyed the first half, especially. The action was sensational at times. And if you're a martial arts fan, like I believe Josh and I have talked about this before, both of us, I think it is a martial arts lover's feast. I think, I think Simu Liu is a superstar. He is someone that is very comfortable already in the role of a Marvel superhero. And Tony Leung stole the show as the bad guy. And that is pretty much all I want to go ahead and tell everybody right now because of spoilers I would be going into. But I know Josh has not seen it yet. I know he wants to. I know he was really excited about it first, kind of when we did our movie preview, not as excited. But Josh, I think it's about time to get excited again for Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Yeah, I mean, I am excited. I got to before I can go to the theaters to see it, I got to catch the kids up on. We still got to watch. So we made it to Black Panther, so we still got to watch Infinity War, Ant-Man, Captain Marvel, and then Endgame, and then we can go watch Shang-Chi. But
No Spider-Man?
well, we're no, oh sorry, they've seen Spider-Man already. They watched those out of order.
Okay.
So they just need to see like how the whole thing with Thanos ended before they can go see Shang-Chi. But yeah, I'm excited to watch it. I would like to see it in theaters as opposed to watching it, after the 45-day hits and it goes on to Disney Plus. But yeah, I've heard good things, and from what I've seen in the trailers and what it, so IGN, like a lot of these movie sites are giving it like middle of the road reviews, like sevens and stuff, instead of like nines or tens, and that tells me that it's something that's aimed more at like the casual moviegoer.
It is a casual movie. It is a casual audience movie. I'm going
Yeah.
to agree with that. It does follow the Marvel formula
Mm-hmm.
very much, especially the latter half. I think the latter half is not as strong as the first half, which is tremendous.
Yeah.
I think the latter half falls a little bit. Overall, I liked it a little bit better than Black Widow, but you've heard my story on Black Widow many times, so I don't want to go
Yeah.
ahead and repeat it here. But I really enjoy this film from the standpoint that it brings a different side of our culture, of our lives, of our world into it. It does get a little bit convoluted. It does provide a little bit too much CG at times, but when it sticks to the action of kung fu, that's when it does its best. That's when it does its best to entertain. And again, Simu Liu, we've talked before about how certain stars in their initial performances, I'm going to note out Brie Larson and also as well Chris Hemsworth for
Yeah.
being a little bit wooden and uncomfortable in their positions, in their
Mm-hmm.
debut positions. And in fact, I think since then, Brie Larson in her appearances in Endgame and whatnot has done a much better job and been more comfortable in her role as Captain Marvel. And of course, we all know how comfortable Chris Hemsworth got after Ragnarok. I mean, he was just truly sensational. That Simu Liu in this movie is already comfortable right off the bat. He is already just like developed and transformed in this role and felt very comfortable in it. Maybe a lot of that is because he was playing off of Aquafina. Aquafina, I'm not sure was given as much to do as I think
Just
she
to
should have been
clarify,
given.
we're talking about an actor, right, and not the bottle of water. Is that?
Yeah, that's very funny, my
I
friend.
no, I
Yes.
who is Aquafina? Like I don't know.
Uh,
Everyone keeps saying
uh,
that name. I don't know who that is.
she is a well. I guess I was gonna say a famous actress, but she's not too famous actress. She's an actress that's done a lot of movies, including Crazy Rich Asians. She's done. Let me see. Oh yeah, she's done Jumanji sequel. She's done the what's the she's done
Aquafina.
quite a few movies already, and then she's a big time comedian. She has her own show, Nora from Queens on Comedy Central. So she
Okay,
uh,
I have seen her before. I didn't know that
yes.
that was her name. That's just
Yes. In fact, we talked about her a couple years ago, in which she really, really had a great film that I was to me was one of the best movies of the 2019. In fact, I think I graded it number one, if I'm not too, if my memory serves correct, in the farewell. She was tremendous in that role. This one, she wasn't given as much to do, but the fact that she played, I mean, I think she was there to basically to give someone to play off of Simu Liu,
Yeah.
and she does a good job of that. And Simu Liu just really feels comfortable on the screen for that, and he does a tremendous job. But to me, this movie is just as much about Tony Leung and the legendary actor that he is. Michelle Yeoh, who is just tremendous
Oh,
in
she's
everything she does.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, she's great, but she's not in the movie a whole lot. But Tony Leung is, and Tony Leung is a legend in the kung fu martial arts industry. And this was his, I don't know, I don't want to say this is his first Western film, but this is his first time, as he admitted on camera, this is his first time working with a Western film studio.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it just seems like he should be doing a lot more, both for his own companies overseas, but also as well for here in the States, because he truly killed it as someone who is up in the air about in regards to being called the Mandarin. So I'm just going to say he's Simu Liu's father in the film. Let's go. Shang-Chi's father. How about that? Let's just go with that, because it's
Okay.
the Mandarin thing is laid out and exposed in this film for what it is. So we'll leave it at that. But Tony Leung does a tremendous job in the film, and I really give the movie high marks when it goes and focuses in on the father son dynamic between those two.
Okay, I have two. I just want like two. I want two spoilers, okay, and they're not like big spoilers. I just have to know because I need to. I need that.
All right, well then
I,
we're going a little bit in spoiler
I
town.
need
Someone
this
in the
going
spoiler
in.
town.
Okay, my first
Turn the
question:
sound down for 2 minutes. How about that?
do they connect the 10 rings from Iron Man to the 10 rings in this movie?
Yes, they do, but they only brush it over real quickly.
Okay, second question: do they? Is there any reference to the Iron Fist in this movie?
No.
Okay, because I saw in the trailer, it looked like he was like face to face with some sort of dragon. So I was wondering if that was the
Yes.
dragon that gave the Iron Fist its powers.
It could be, but it was not indicated. You do not meet a Danny Rand
No,
in the film.
no. Yeah, I wasn't like expecting to meet a Danny Rand. I was just curious if there's like a reference to the, the city where he, what's it? I forget what the city's called. Like that whole mythology. I was just curious if there's any
Yes, the
references to it.
mythology is there. The
Okay.
mythology is there. I will give it that. The mythology and what you're thinking of, talk about this there, but the Iron Fist character and the Iron Fist persona is not elaborated on at all
Okay.
in the film.
All right. All right.
But it could be set up something for the sequel. Let's just say
Okay. So do you,
of Shang-Chi.
so like you said, Michelle Yao is amazing. Do you think that this will see a Shang-Chi 2 with like maybe they're bringing in more like famous Chinese actors into the fray here?
You could possibly see that. Again, also an introductory to Danny Rand. You could see that with Iron Fist, and because I don't think they'll ever touch the Netflix Iron Fist dude again, or
Yeah.
maybe they'll bring some people back from that series, but I don't think the character who played Danny Rand will be one of them.
Yeah, I don't think anybody wants him back. I know I was just
Yeah,
trying to get through that show with my wife and she doesn't really like the acting.
yeah,
So,
absolutely. But I will say that there will be some things that I think they're going to be good for the future for Shang-Chi and the Legend of Ten Rings if the sequel's made. And again, the movie is breaking Labor Day records here in the States with 71 million for, as reported on the Pop Culture Cosmos Facebook page. It's breaking Labor Day records with 71 million over the weekend. It's going to do close to 90 million over the course of the Labor Day holiday weekend, and it's already going over 140 million dollars worldwide, and it's yet to play in a substantial amount of the Far East or Europe or anything of like that nature. So in a selected number of countries, it's done 100. It's made 140 million dollars worldwide. So under the pandemic conditions, I would say this classifies as a big hit. And I know there were certain individuals out there that were rooting against it and also stating that this was going to fail, but I have a feeling that Marvel, under these circumstances, are very pleased with the outcome of Shang-Chi and Legend 10 Rings.
Well, good, good. I mean, yeah, like I said, I'm excited to watch it when I get the chance to do it, and it is something I'd rather see in theaters than on my couch. So hopefully, I'll get to before that 45-day, timer ticks down to zero. Hopefully, I will make it out to see it.
And where does it fall in my timeline as far as the best of the Marvel Cinematic Universe? I will be posting that this week on the popculturecosmos.com website. Where it falls, I will give everybody a hint that it goes in the top half. So I do give it a positive rating. How much of a positive rating and how well do I think of the movie? I will be letting everybody know this week. But I want to hear from you out there. If you've seen Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, please let us know. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, my friend, there's still much more Marvel to talk about on today's program. During my vacation, well, I did play the 5 year anniversary and also our fall movie preview, and I remember the now infamous words of Big Dog, who again I want to thank for showing up, being on the show. He did say that what he had heard that the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer was only, if it was going to be shown, would only be 30 seconds long. I think was the words he was alluding to. Yeah, and actually it dropped. I think the next day after he said
Yeah,
that.
that's kind of ironic.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
dropped. It was a full 3 minute trailer, and
Well,
yeah,
and
it
from what
gave
I
me a lot.
understand too, like this trailer barely had anything of what was actually in the movie, so I'm sure we're gonna get a ton more surprises.
Oh, I'm sure, but if you base it off of what's in there, which to some extent you have to realize that there is some of it in there. It looks like Doctor Strange and Spider Man seemingly have tried to conjure a spell to make everyone forget that Peter Parker is Spider Man, and in doing so, broken a timeline, alternate dimension, that type deal, further further fracturing the timeline and using that whole scenario that we've seen from Loki and from other parts of the Marvel Cinematic Universe already, and that we will continue to see as a theme going forward in this phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But it leads to an appearance by Alfred Molina in a much younger CG referenced mode as far as Doctor Octopus, and then you had a hint of Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin.
Mm-hmm.
So we're hoping that we're going to see the Spider-Mans as well. But
Just
yeah, man, it looked good. It broke all the records for Avengers Endgame upon its initial 48 hours of release on YouTube.
yeah.
So I want to hear your thoughts when you had to check it out, my friend. What are your thoughts on the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer?
I thought that it was a little overwhelming. It was cool, but watching this, I kind of get that fear, like I had with Spider-Man 3 with Tobey Maguire, was that all these other things are going to become main characters and take the focus off of Spider-Man. I know we talked about rumors of what the plot would be like before, and whether or not Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield would show up. We don't know. It's possible they might, but I think looking at it, I've been reading a lot of things where people are like breaking it down frame by frame, and it feels like they're just like shoving so much into this film. Like what was so great about what was the last one when he was in
Far From
Spider-Man Far
Home?
From Home. What's so great about that was that there wasn't a lot going on. Like it had like your basic plot, and it really outlined who Peter Parker is as a person, as opposed to Spider-Man. Like there's a lot of Spider-Man stuff, but it really highlighted that struggle that he faces and that struggle we get in the comic books. Like balancing being a superhero with his life outside of being a superhero. And in this, it feels like it's just taking all the things that are great about Spider-Man and just mixing them with everything else. And so I guess that's like my biggest fear is like, how is this movie going to have so much in it that it's going to not have just like a story that really develops this character, or is it going to be something that is very well balanced, which I very much hope that it is, but Again, just seeing how people are breaking down this trailer and showing like there's people who are outlining certain things in the frames, and they're like, oh hey, look, here's Venom, and we don't know if Venom's going to show up, but like it just feels like they're packing so much. All these rumors of Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, Charlie Cox, what's her name, the Lady Hulk, the She Hulk. Like, they're just trying to push so much in. You have Green Goblin and Doc Ock and all that. So I don't know, man. I'm hopeful. The trailer looks great. Don't get me wrong. I'm super excited about it. I just don't want it to be like so filled with everything that it just is hard to walk away from it being like that really like push that character forward.
Well, for me, it's something that I agree with you, because I know we've talked about this before when it comes to sequels, that the best sequels not only push the entire narrative along, but they tell its own narrative at the same time just as well. And that might be a problem for this film, because not only does it have to try and tell its own narrative, but it's going to be pushing narratives for the multiverse, for Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse, and the MCU and its multiverse, including Doctor Strange, who is probably going to be in it. Probably what maybe what Robert Downey Jr. was in Spider-Man: No Way Home,
No, yeah.
in Spider-Man, in the original Spider-Man film, not the original, but the original original Spider-Man movie that came out, with that was there, the first Spider-Man movie of this kind. So, but anyways, the first writer Robert Downey Jr. appearance, he was only in it for like 10 minutes, but they were very meaningful minutes. But this movie has to go ahead and not only tell its own story, but it has to go ahead and tell, or probably start, or probably kick off the Spider Verse, which Sony is dying to showcase off, so it can spin off all these other movies like Morbius and more Venoms and
you know,
all
it's
the.
what's funny in the way you said that. You said Morbius, like you paused and it sounded like more BS, and I was like, Amen.
No, yeah, no,
Yeah,
Mobius.
right.
I'm sorry, Morbius. Yeah, that type deal. So the Mobius the vampire, that's going to be coming out, I think, in late January, if I'm not mistaken. And then you've got to go ahead, and it's also got to go ahead and push the overall MCU with Doctor Strange and his appearance there, not only taking over as the mentor for RDJ, but also trying to go ahead and lead into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness coming out next year. So we could see Spider-Man sneaking sometime in that film. We'll see about that. But I think that film is also going to have its job in trying to do a lot of those things as well. These movies that are required and asked to do heavy lifting, like Spider-Man: No Way Home and Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, that's the problem. When they're asked to do so much heavy lifting, they have a
hmm
problem holding up them. Having they have a problem holding up themselves.
Yeah, and I mean, so far Feige, and the the MCU films have done a good job at like balancing things, even when introducing larger concepts like these team ups and all that of the Avengers. The Iron Man films did a pretty good job of holding that all together. Sony is the one that is notorious for dropping the ball on that. They do not balance things very well. So
No,
maybe the fact that this is an MCU film is a good indicator that we'll probably get, it will be fairly well balanced. But I just like I don't know, I don't foresee the launching of a Spider-Man universe and Sony to be something that's going to, maybe right now it's good, but I don't see it being something that's going to be I don't know. I don't see it something being something good. Like I feel like even when Tom Holland goes back to Sony, I feel like it's going to become a mess.
I think it's going to be not as delicately balanced as we saw from the previous events and the previous phases of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I mean, we're because of this multiverse concept. It's something that I think is leading itself to a lot of scenarios where not good things can happen. I didn't
Yeah.
say that's going to be the case primarily, but I mean, with this multiverse of options that you can have, there's also an infinite amount of things that can go wrong,
Yeah.
or storytelling things that can go awry. And if that's the case, that's not going to spell the same kind of success for Marvel they had with the previous phases of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because that was more cut and dry. It was all about the Infinity Stones, and then it was about Thanos getting the Infinity
Right.
Stones, then doing the damage with the Infinity Stones, then the Avengers undoing the
Mm-hmm.
damage with the Infinity Stones. Now we're getting to the point where these television shows have now created a part where there's now in multiverses coming out. Plus, Spider-Man wants to do his stuff, and through his ambition in trying to get everybody to forget about him being
Yeah.
Peter Parker and all that. Now that's going to mess up and even more, and it's just going to become more convoluted. I have a feeling it's going to be harder for a casual audience member out there to follow. It's going to be harder for us to explain it to an audience
Yeah. I,
just as much. So, and that's what I fear the most.
I don't like I don't like the idea of a multiverse. I just like I don't like I feel like it's if you want to tell stories outside of the main canon, just tell those stories. You don't have to not everything has to be connected. And I guess like that's where I kind of admire what DC's doing. You know, there's no like maybe I think Flashpoint's supposed to like explode their multiverse, but like it just it doesn't mul- tell a linear story. You know that way it doesn't make things feel like a waste of time. You know, if you want to tell a story outside of that continuity, just do it. You know, you don't have to convolute what's existing if in order to do something like that. But that this is where I'm afraid of what's going to happen with this multiverse. Like it's just going to become so convoluted trying to connect every single dot.
And now you have the What If series on Disney Plus, where
Right.
some of the events and some of the individuals that are showcased on this animated series will become part of the live action multiverse at some point in time down the road. So we could see a Captain Carter who was showcased in episode one, episode two with King T'Challa becoming Star Lord. That was a great episode. Episode three was a murder mystery with Nick Fury guiding it all. And I thought that was an interesting take, and I kind of liked it, to be honest with you. Episode four was different in a Doctor Strange that goes awry for certain reasons. And if you haven't seen it yet, I'd say go ahead and check it out. It's okay. I think that it's taking bold turns with What If, but they're saying that you're gonna be able to tie some of this into the movies and television shows we're watching now and making it part of the MCU, which is going to make it even more convoluted and even more confusing for the general audience out there to watch.
Right. Yeah, so it just like me, I don't know how many people like me are out there. People have this like story OCD, but like when I look at you look at like the old Halloween movies, right? Like the Jason 10 or whatever, Jason Space, Friday the 13th Part 7. Like the box office numbers for those movies continually declined. And I think it's because people just felt exhausted. You know, they didn't want to go back and have to watch everything from the beginning in order to understand it. And uh, you know, with the multiverse exploding the Marvel universe in so many different directions, I feel like you might find people starting to drop off just because there's too much. You know, I already feel overwhelmed with all the shows on Disney Plus. So it's a risky move, and I'm curious to see how well executed it is.
And then now you have a situation where you've got Sony wanting to do their own thing, Marvel's going to do their own thing. They're going to be not tied together, but they are going to be tied together. So you have to explain it to people, and that's going to be very difficult to do so, or you have to follow it, and that's going to be very difficult to do so. And you're right, people can get so much frustrated that they'll walk away. But we'll wait and see, my friend. But the universe is going to get a little bit broader. The multiverse is going to get a little bit broader for everyone out there at Marvel. And after watching the latest Spider-Man No Way Home trailer, it will probably get a lot broader. Broader. It will probably get a lot broader indeed. But what are your thoughts out there on the first Spider-Man No Way Home trailer that just came out We want to hear your thoughts. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, my friend, there's still much more to talk about on today's program. I know we're going to be talking about a lot of great things coming up, including Halo. We're going to be talking about also as well the 10th anniversary of Contagion. But before we head on out, I did want to talk about more movie delays. And that more movie delays are on the way. When I was on vacation, Paramount has already gone ahead and delayed Top Gun Maverick, which is something I thought they already did. Remember during when we had our show during the
Yeah.
videotaping, I presumptuously said that it was going to be that it was already had been delayed to 2022. I was incorrect. It was still November 2021, but Top Gun Maverick has since been delayed to 2022. So rest assured, I may have been seeing the future on that or calling it, but yes, they did delay it to I
It's
think May of
it's
it's going to
never gonna
be
come out. It'll never come
more,
out.
no, I think the Memorial Day weekend next year it'll come out.
You think so?
I
I just like I feel like it's gonna I was thinking about this over the weekend. Like now, they have the whole Delta thing, and now there's a Mu variant. Like there's just gonna be
yeah.
more and more Corona variants coming out, and they're just gonna keep pushing movies. They're either gonna have to make the choice to release it on a streaming platform or just put it out in theaters and see if people will go back. Because at this point, like I don't think people are going to readily go out in droves to the movie theater like they used to. Like it's not going to happen. The landscape has shifted so much in terms of like media consumption. We're not going to have that again. At least it'll be a good 5 to 10 years before that happens again, if it does. So you have all these people, Paramount, right? They have their Top Gun and Mission Impossible and all that. So I don't think delaying those releases is a good idea. Like right now, I've seen so many boards on the internet of people going like, "Oh, this movie's never going to come out. I've waited so long, I don't even want to see it anymore." Like it's actually killing buzz for this movie, and I'm kind of in that boat too because right now I don't really care anymore. Like I was excited when it was first announced, and I was excited when it was supposed to come out, and now I'm just kind of like, oh, well, if it comes out, it comes out. If not, I don't really care that much. So it's kind of I don't know. Like you have to make a decision. I don't think pushing these movies back repeatedly is the best choice here.
Well, the other thing that was curious was Mission Impossible 7 being moved from May 2022, which Top Gun Maverick took over that spot. It's being pushed back all the way to the end of September of
Mm-hmm.
2022, which for a Mission Impossible movie, which is now a part one of it's now one of the biggest IPs in movies. That's a very curious time. I have a feeling that they're going to try and make for that movie. That probably is going to be dropping on Paramount Plus, maybe day and date as far as theaters are concerned, because that's a very curious time to drop that movie. I just think that that's kind of weird for a movie that deserves a maybe like a summer movie that should have been maybe
Yeah.
like in July or August, but yeah, putting it on the end of September seems kind of weird. I have
Mm-hmm.
a feeling they might change it again, or they'll probably do something day and date with that movie. Top Gun Maverick, I think they're going to probably go ahead and still drop that in the theaters on Memorial Day weekend. So we'll see what happens there. But Jackass
Yeah.
Forever is the other major movie that got pushed back.
Yeah, that one doesn't make sense to me because it was really pegged into the perfect spot for that movie.
Yeah. I
And
mean, that's been moved to just everyone knows February 4th, 2022. But go ahead.
yeah, it seemed like it was a weird move because again, that was like the perfect time for that movie. And this is a movie that's not going to break box office records. Like the people who are going to see this movie are not the children and families, just like the people who have notoriously gone out to watch movies like this. And I don't feel like they're the kind of people that are going to complain about having to go to the movie theaters in these current climates. So I didn't really understand that one, but I guess February is not too far off from when it's supposed to be released.
No, but it's very curious. And I think that's something that I think that should have been or should be a day and date for Paramount Plus. I really think that that movie is not a movie that's going to really get or garner huge box office numbers,
Exactly. Yeah.
but it has a big enough name that it would be a kind of nice treat for Paramount Plus, or to get people involved or invested into Paramount Plus to do a day and date
Mm-hmm.
and promote it more from that end. Kind of like what we're seeing with all the HBO Now type
Yeah.
scenarios where they're doing day and dates with Dune and with some of these other movies that they got. The latest Clint Eastwood movie, the latest Hugh Jackman movie, which was a bomb in the
Yeah.
theaters, may have done very well on
Yeah, I
HBO now.
was Reminiscence it was called.
Yes,
Yeah, I
yes.
saw it pop on up on HBO Max, and I was curious about whether or not curious about it, and whether or not I wanted to watch it. But
Yeah,
yeah,
HBO Max, absolutely. HBO
yeah,
Max. I mean, yeah, that movie, Clint Eastwood's movie is day and date with HBO Max. Dune with HBO Max, day and date. That I'm looking forward to. The reviews from the outlets have just dropped for it. It's very beautiful. I think you're going to love this film simply because it's going to be another one of those visual feasts.
mm-hmm.
It may not hold the substance I think that a lot of people are looking for, because it's a two-part movie, as far as it's a two-movie set as opposed to trying to tell everything in one movie. So
Yeah.
I think people need to be prepared to, you know, get to. They need to be prepared to see a part two. They need to,
Yeah.
a cliffhanger type deal or something that at the very end is going to necessitate a part two, because Denis Villeneuve has already said, you're going to see a part two. But yeah, that movie's coming out day and date on HBO Max. Although really, that's a movie for IMAX just to see how
Oh,
it looks. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, that's one I will definitely go and watch in the theaters. But like, you're going back to like Reminiscence, and you named a couple others. Like, those are movies that I wouldn't go to the theaters to watch. Those are movies that I would go to my couch to watch. I would gladly sit on my couch with an HBO Max subscription and watch those movies. But like something like Dune,
Jackass Forever.
Jackass Forever, exactly. But something like Dune, yeah, I would go. Even though I could watch it from my couch, I would go to the theaters to watch it. It's just it. It all depends on the film, and everybody has different tastes. So it's going to be hard to really like nail down exactly what people will and will not go to the movie theaters for.
Exactly. So I'm hoping that people will go ahead and check out these films, whether it's on HBO Max, whether it's day and date in the theaters. But I know Dune is something we're going to go out of our way to see in the theaters. But I really think that they need to reevaluate what they're doing when it comes to Jackass Forever and MI7,
Mm-hmm.
because of the strange things that they're doing as far as releasing those two films. I understand Top Gun Maverick being moved to Memorial Day weekend. It's a big weekend. That's fine. I don't have any problem with that. But yeah, the others are it's kind of weird what they're doing with those two films,
Yeah.
those two other films. But again, this is Paramount, so nobody knows really what's going to happen. Are they going to try and push Paramount Plus? Are they not? I mean, does anybody even know that A Quiet Place Part Two is there? I mean, it's not really been touted
I
about.
don't
I
think a
mean,
lot of
this
people even know about Paramount Plus though. Like
yeah,
I
I mean, they had that Super Bowl ad the Super Bowl ads that they made during the Super Bowl that continuously, because they were on CBS and it's
mhm.
all tied in together with Paramount Plus and whatnot. So, I mean, it's just something we got to take care of at some point. So, I think, basically right now we're just going to go ahead and wait and see on Paramount Plus. But yeah, since the Super Bowl ads, they've not done very much or they not done a great job of promoting what they have to offer.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, and like I've I don't know a lot of people who even know Paramount Plus is a thing. You ask them about it, and they kind of like scratch their heads and look at you. So it's just another case of like too many streaming services. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't. Who knows? Who knows? I wish that I could tell like what the future of like movie consumption is going to be, but like the thing that it disappoints me is I really wish that these streaming outlets would release numbers, and that's something that we probably won't ever get.
No, and Nielsen, they give you guesses, or there are other outlets that try to gives you impressions and things of that nature that try to give a decent read, but it's really hard to gauge exactly verbatim, because like you said, these companies only release the numbers when they want to, and they only release the numbers that they feel like they have to in order to appease the shareholders, and they only release the movies. They only release the numbers. They only release the numbers on the hits, on the movies that are hits for them, the series that are hits for them. Those are the only ones that they really love to release the numbers for.
Yeah. While we're on the topic of streaming stuff, can I talk about Nightmare of the Wolf real quick?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. That's the latest animated series that is encased within the realm of The Witcher.
Yeah, sorry, I just saw your poster on the wall back behind you, and it just reminded me of it. If you have not watched this, you've been in Hawaii, so you haven't had a chance to catch this show or movie, I guess. As you, it's like what's like it's like an hour and 15 minutes, but it is a prequel, and it follows Vesemir, who is Geralt's, I guess you can call him mentor,
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of shows like his origin story, how he came to be. And it's really, really interesting. I don't want to go into spoilers, but it really just kind of expands the Witcher universe in a way that like I never even imagined. Like it explains like how these what's going like these monsters, how they're able to survive and thrive for so long. And it's like it's such an interesting thing because there's a lot of parallels in it, and I can't even talk about it right now without spoiling it. So, Gerald, if you get a chance, man, please watch this so we can sit here and have like a deep dive about it because I just got so many thoughts on this. But
All
it
right, I'll tell you what. By the time this next week happens, and for next Monday's show, I will go ahead and I will have watched it. How about that for you?
Okay, perfect. For right now, though, for everyone else listening, it is just beautifully animated. The voice acting's really good. It looks like it's if you like Castlevania, like the animation is almost exactly the same, but it's very, very well written. And if you liked The Witcher show, like you will definitely like this. Because most people, when they think about like cartoon prequels, they equate it to like the Gotham Knight or Animatrix, which really weren't that good or not that good. They just weren't good at all. But this is something that really like it holds the mythology very well and it looks very good.
Well, I'm definitely intrigued now. These are some of the things that I missed while I was on vacation, but I'm definitely looking forward to go ahead and check it out this week, and I will make the effort to do so we can have that major discussion on next week's Pop Culture Cosmos. But yes, the delays are very interesting and concerning to say the least, but there was one movie that actually showed a final trailer this week this past week that isn't going to be delayed that I thought would be delayed again, and that's a little movie called No Time to Die. The latest James Bond, the latest
The latest
movie effort.
and last.
Yes, the last for Daniel Craig. And I want to hear your thoughts on this, man. Looks good. I'm getting really intrigued by it. I was wondering, are you surprised that they're not delaying it again? That they're finally just like they're taking the Josh Peterson advice and just saying, you know what, we're just gonna throw it out there and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised because this was the first movie delayed, right? Like this when COVID
Yep, this was
happened,
the
this was the
first
very
big
first.
movie.
Yeah, it just and it's one of those things now, and like much like Top Gun, you go on the internet and you read like comment boards and stuff, and you see people just getting to the point where they're tired of it, like they don't want to watch it anymore. So now with this new trailer, I'm excited. I'm really excited, and this is it. This is Daniel Craig's final outing as Bond, and what happens next? Like, are they gonna have a new Bond, or are they just gonna continue the story with the new 007? We don't really know, but the big question here is: do you think that they can give Daniel Craig his out without killing him?
Ooh. It all depends on what he wants, because sometimes the actor asks to be killed off.
Be-
We heard the old stories about, Harrison Ford wanting to
mm-hmm.
kill off his character after the first Star Wars when he wanted to kill him off in Empire of the Strikes Back or The Empire Strikes Back, and he wanted to kill himself off then, and
Mm-hmm.
we've heard other actors that want to be killed off or they go off of a television series and
Yeah.
they are written off and they're killed off in an accident or usually in a hospital drama. They somehow land in the hospital themselves and you see them unplugged, you beep 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 beep,
Right.
flatlining and they're dead.
Right. Because
Yeah, in fact, I think there's a situation going on with The Resident or one of the shows this year, the series this year that's going to debut their season with one of their characters who has being written off the show in just that fashion. So, yeah, it's kind of funny how that's happening. But yeah, I would say my answer to you is he is going to be killed off, my friend.
So this is interesting because I kind of agree with you, but like this would end the current continuity of James Bond as we know it, right? Because the if throughout the series, whether it was or Sean Connery or George Lazenby or Timothy Dalton, whoever, there's been little breadcrumbs
Pierce
that
Brosnan.
Pierce Brosnan. There's been little breadcrumbs that have connected like one Bond every time they change actors, it's connected one Bond to another, right? Like one Bond film to the next. Judi Dench, I guess, would be the latest breadcrumb, right? Because she was M in the Pierce Brosnan films, and she's
Yeah.
also M in the Daniel Craig films, and she's gone. So now, if they were to off Daniel Craig, that would be essentially be the end of James Bond. Like there would the 007 movies could continue, but there
Well, you
would
could
not
say Ray
be
Fiennes if Ray Fiennes
right.
interacts with the next James Bond.
That's true, but it wouldn't be James Bond because James Bond would be dead.
Then he might have to stay alive after all. But I think they're going to kill off
I
the Daniel
I
Craig.
have a feeling they're gonna kill off Daniel Craig and give rise to the new 007 that's in No Time to Die. But I also feel like that's a very, very risky scenario for not for like, social or political reasons, but just the fan base of James Bond. It just feels like a very risky ticket, I guess.
Well, what's even riskier is releasing it at the end of October when they're going to be releasing it. So we'll see what happens with No Time to Die because they are not delaying it. As of this point, they're not delaying it. In fact, they've released the final trailer. So No Time to Die is on its way to theaters. If it changes, we'll let you know. Follow us on Facebook because we have the latest news and trends there. And if there is any delay, if there's any delay at all on No Time to Die, we will let you know what that is. But it's looking more and more and more like there is No Time to Die that's coming up at the end of September. So we'll go ahead and tell you all about it coming up later this month and early part of next month as it gets released in theaters all around the world in No Time to Die. But what are your thoughts out there on some of the latest movie delays? What are some of your thoughts out there on the latest movie delays? Let us know. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. But my friend, before we head on out to things I need to talk to you about, one is Halo Infinite, which also finally got a release date. I guess the initial Microsoft showcase did not showcase the release date. It showcased a trailer and an update on the game itself and blah 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 blah. And it wasn't until a day later that they actually finally released the trailers. They finally had the release date, and that's going to be December 8th, which to me is disappointing and for many reasons. For many reasons, but I'm going to tell you the main reasons. First off, they totally blow by the mid-November anniversary, the 20th anniversary of the original Halo,
Yeah.
which was brought up by not only Ryan McCaffrey of IGN, but also several other individuals out there in social media that they should have tied it into that. It would have been a great way to pay homage. And if you're already releasing it this year, why don't you do that there? It's the old adage to me, like with Far Cry 6. If you're releasing it within a 30-day span of just before Black Friday, why don't you release it just before Black Friday? I just can't
Yeah.
believe that they're missing out on the biggest shopping weekend of the year. It just blows my mind that Far Cry 6 and now Halo Infinite are both missing that day. And also, it's in Halo Infinite's case, missing its 20th anniversary, which just seems to me absolutely dumb. And then another thing is, after a year delay, because it was originally supposed to be released last year on the debut of the Xbox Series S and X, it's going to come out, and there's no campaign co-op, and no, and there's
Forge,
also
right? Is
going to,
the Forge mode is not part of it?
yes, the forge mode's not going to be in there. These are two major components that have been a staple of the series for decades now, 2 decades. and they're both, well, in the case of Forge, it's actually more like one, but still, the Forge and campaign co-op have been major parts of the Halo IP now for a long time, and they're both not going to be there upon release. And this is a game that's already been delayed a year. I think that Phil Spencer has been a great individual for the gaming community and Xbox as the head of Xbox. If I was him, I'd be very uber mad about this all happening and all the way it's going down, man. Because really, just this has just been with Halo Infinite from the get go, just one mishap after another.
I'm sorry, I just thought I heard my kids crying. Yeah, no, I mean, I want to backtrack to what I said last year. Where like it's because the Sony fanboys. I don't think it's because the Sony fanboys. I think that kind of like helped to wake them up a little bit. But I feel like this game was not ready to launch last year. It was not ready to
But
come
the thing
out. It
is
was
not
not.
ready to launch
Well,
this
that's
year.
that's what I'm gonna say. That's what I'm trying to get at it here is that like how this the what is the production of this game been like, because they're if they don't even have all the pieces ready to go now and they're gonna push it out, like I'm glad that it's finally coming out, but what kind of product are we going to be receiving? But granted, I also remember that the Master Chief Collection was an absolute mess when that game came out, and then 6 months later, it's probably one of the greatest games ever made.
It took over a year. It took
Yeah,
over a year
right.
to get it going. But yeah, I agree with
Yeah,
you on that. It finally became a truly great experience. But
yeah,
with Halo Infinite, I mean, they've had over a year of
right.
delay on this, and it's been and these issues are still there. And that's the thing, though. They've got the free to play multiplayer thing. That's already been worked out, man. That's already on the get go. That's already something that they're going to be doing as far as trials. They're going to be doing betas. They're going to be doing all that. All that's good. But when it comes to certain staples of this game that have been in place for years and years and years, like the Forge, which has become very popular as far as being able to craft your own online experiences, and then also campaign co-op, which I have tremendous memories of for the first two Halos, and I truly enjoy going through those campaigns with people on that. And they're not going to be there for 3 to 6 months after the initial release of the game, which
Yeah.
in its own right is a disappointment in when it's being released. It just truly seems to me, if I was Phil Spencer, I'd really be mad right now. I think he has been given a long leash by gamers because he's so gamer friendly.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is the one time if I was Microsoft, I'd say, Phil, you blew it with this one.
You blew it. Yeah, yeah. But then again, this game could come out and it could completely surpass all of our expectations. It could
Well,
be,
I hope it does.
it
Mike's
could be,
expectations are low right now.
yeah, it could be just amazing. And it could be even better when the co-op version comes out. So yeah, I think it's really going to hinge on how good is the story and how good is the multiplayer mode. And I think that if those come out the gate just being fantastic, I think the fans would be willing to let go of the fact that the co-op and the Forge aren't there
It just
at
seems to me
launch.
that's gaming in 2021, my friend, where a game comes out and it's not even finished. I mean, Cyberpunk 2077, I mean, does anybody even still play that game? I mean, everybody was so hyped and we all wanted to play it, and it came out and
Yeah.
it came out, it was a mess. And maybe now a year or two late, year or two later, a year later, and then 2 years later, it'll be the game that it should have been in the first place. I mean, this is not the first time this happened. It's happened repeatedly. The Avengers game, that's a game that's now much better than it was when upon its initial release. I mean,
Yeah. Well,
No Man's Sky, No Man's Sky,
yeah, and
5 years
that's
later.
that's like the standard, right? Everyone looks at what a mess that game was coming out of the gates. But this all kind of actually falls into line with what Sean Layden had just said this past week about how like the cost and the production
Former head of PlayStation
former head
just
of
said it, right?
PlayStation, yeah, the cost and the production of these big games are becoming unsustainable because there's just so many factors that go into it, and it's so expensive and it requires so many people that it's just something where we're going to see more and more releases like this over the course of the next few years, especially with COVID. So Yeah, right now for me, like I would rather be able to play these elements than not be able to play the game at all. And
Yeah,
but
but unlike the movie industry, this is a genre that has actually benefited,
mhm,
unfortunately, in these terrible times of the pandemic, that people have wanted to stay home. And what do? They play games when they stay home.
yeah,
So the video game industry, the video games that have been out that have been of any quality are selling better for the most part, or these free to play games, or these experiences that have come out as far as in a video game fashion,
yeah,
they've been doing better than they have. I mean, we see the sales for the Sony PlayStation. They've been talking about the PS5 breaking all the records. Blah 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 blah. Microsoft keeps telling you blah 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 blah. Their Xbox Series is doing better than what the other Xboxes that came before it. I mean, in the video game industry, yeah, the prices are skyrocketing as far as the productions, but it's usually, if it's a quality game, gonna get its money back in sales.
yeah, yeah. I mean, but here's the thing, though. There's a whole other bag of cats we're opening here. But
Meow.
with yeah, with Games Pass, like I don't think Xbox game sales are really that high. And even you go to like Target or Walmart or really anywhere that sells games, and you see, except for GameStop because they have a contract with Microsoft, but you see like the Microsoft section getting more compact, right? Like it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller, whereas like the Sony and Nintendo sections are growing because they don't have this Games Pass catalog that are basically making all their physical based media irrelevant.
Well, I still think there's going to be some problems that gamers are going to have with this delayed release and this December release of Halo Infinite. I really think that this does not bode well for the game. I'm hoping that I'm going to be proven wrong and that this game will be amazing eventually
Yeah.
after all the things are worked out. But man, being delayed a year initially, then coming out weeks after the anniversary when you could have timed it perfectly and before Black Friday. And then on top of that, it's not coming out complete. It's going to be that right there is a little bit of a downer. But
Hmm.
again, I'm going to try and keep my mind open, keep my ears open, keep my eyes open. That this is going to be a great Halo game, and I know you are too. And as an Xbox fan and aficionado and fanboy that you are, I know you're really hyped for it. I am as a longtime Halo player myself. So everybody out there, if you've got thoughts on Halo Infinite and what's going on, is it a mess that really can't be fixed, or are you hopeful that Microsoft, Xbox, and everybody there at 343 will actually get everything together and be able to go ahead and produce a quality game? We want to hear your thoughts. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, it's been a great episode, my friend. I'm back in the saddle once again from vacation. I'm off the beach. The waves have hit me, and I'm now back in the saddle again. We have got a lot of great things. I do want to mention that during the week on our Pop Culture Cosmos channel, we've got Inside Sports Fantasy Football that's going to drop. We've also got great tabletop RPG games coming at you on our Facebook page, plus also checking out on future things that we're doing for YouTube and Twitch as well. Want to make sure everybody hears that. And we've got a lot of great things in the mix in regards to upcoming projects that we're working on. So we'll keep you abreast of that. And of course, my final thoughts on Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings will be posted this week as I update the Gerald Glassford guide to the Marvel Cinematic Universe at popculturecosmos.com. But before we head on out, my friend, on a somewhat serious note, wanted to make sure and let everybody know that the movie Contagion hits 10 years this week. And it was a movie that when the initial pandemic hit, that was a movie that a lot of people checked out. In fact, it skyrocketed up the Apple charts as far as what people were looking at and trying to compare and take notes from and experiences. And in many ways, the movie itself told some things in advance. It saw some things in the future that we now know today to be true, and some things in the movie were expressed that we need to follow today. There were some unrealistic things in the movie that I think that have bared itself out, but 10 years later, my friend, it still holds up as a pretty good movie. The soundtrack is sensational and is one of the best movie soundtracks ever. I'm going to say that clearly so everybody understands that. I think the movie is itself is a decent movie that's picked up even more by the soundtrack. It's one of those movies that's helped out even more by the soundtrack. So I want to hear your thoughts, my friend. I mean, obviously, Contagion is a film that showcases the ultra worst scenario of what a pandemic can do, but without getting into any of the other extraneous stuff and politics and all that stuff, I mean, it just gave us a glimpse of what was going to happen 10 years down the line.
Yeah, yeah. It's. I mean, like any movie can do that though. Like it's. I don't know. I didn't really like it that much. Like I walked out of it, and well, after watching it, I just kind of thought to myself like, oh, this is like Day After Tomorrow. It was a cool movie, cautionary tale. Went on with my life. Like, and I almost feel like if we weren't in COVID times, like it would kind of be somewhat of an irrelevant movie, but yeah, I don't know. It's like it's almost
Well, it's
it's
found
found
relevance.
relevance, yeah, and maybe that's the plan all along for all of the conspiracy people out there. They just
Oh
wanted
my
Contagion
gosh.
to shoot to the top of the box office charts again. Well played, well played. Just kidding, but no, I mean it's a decent flick for what it is. It's just not something that I'm like in a hurry to go back and watch, but yeah, it is ironic that it's still so popular today, right? Especially considering
Yeah.
what we're going through.
And politics aside, I want to do is put that out there again. I mean, the fact that there's very little mask wearing in the movie for an even worse pandemic. In fact, because the pandemic in the movie is a multitude worse than anything that the coronavirus is doing. Just one, the mortality rate is exponentially higher, and it's more dark and gloomy and things of that nature before it gets better with through a vaccine and all that. And again, I don't want to get into politics of vaccines and all that, but the things that people were not wearing enough masks in there, and there was only some a little bit of hand sanitizer references and cleanliness and hygiene references in there, just a little bit at the end by Lawrence Fishburne. But if you take a look at it as far as the virus chasing, the contact tracing, if you look at it from that part of it, that to me is the interesting part. It's how they're trying to chase down the origins of this virus
Yeah.
and trying to go ahead and from that aspect. When this movie works, it works from that aspect,
Hmm.
and also to find a vaccine, a cure for it. I mean, those are the aspects that when it really clicks on that movie. Otherwise, it is a little bit slow paced, and I understand that, and it's helped by a soundtrack that's truly amazing. But yeah, there's some things that you can take away from it that resonate today, and there's some things that you can just go ahead and shake your head and say, yeah, that didn't work.
Yeah, yeah, and again, it's not something I'm gonna go back and probably watch really ever again. But yeah, it's an interesting film, and again, there is some irony to it, right? That it's all of a sudden become so popular, considering the state that the world is in right now.
Yep, and it'll get even more popular this week. But yes, the 10th anniversary to Contagion. Please check out the soundtrack. If you don't want to check out the mood and doom and gloom of the movie itself that it represents until it gets better due to a vaccine and all that stuff, and again, avoiding all the politics and all that. But yeah, if you want to go ahead and check out something relating to Contagion, check out the soundtrack, because the music in that movie is sensational. So I'll leave it at that. But yes, the movie itself is, you can give or take with it right now. But yeah, the soundtrack is really good. So there you go. There you go. But I want to hear your thoughts out there. 10 years of the Contagion movie. I mean, did you get a chance at that time to check it out back in 2011? Or did you check it out and in the onset of the pandemic? And I want to hear your thoughts on what were your comparisons. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Did you like the soundtrack as much as I did? Because I'm really looking for some fans out there, because I know it was really, at the time, it was really well thought of then. And I think that part of it has held up well today. But let me hear your thoughts. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. My friend, we have made it back from Hawaii. I have. You're still, you're continuing as always, but My friend, I leave it up to you once again. Any last thoughts on the way out?
No, we'll jump back into some emails next week, but I just haven't really had time to sort through the box this week, so we'll get back. We'll jump back on that. But yeah, lots of for those of you back on the video game thing, we just found out that there is a Alan Wake remaster coming out on the PS5, possibly. So it's been leaked by a Taiwanese game retailer. So we'll see if that happens. It would kind of make sense though, considering that Control, the Alan Wake Control DLC has been so popular. So if you're looking to go back into that world, this might be the best time to do it.
You've been pining for something like that for a long time.
I have. I
So
would
I
love a
hope,
remake. I would just love a solid remake that
well,
can
you
that
know they're going to
handles a
remake
little bit
it.
better.
If it was successful, they're going to remake anything. You know
Yeah.
that by now. It
Yeah.
just takes time. It's a matter of time. It's only a
A-
matter of time.
absolutely.
So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the pop culture cosmos. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great